Well, party peoples of the interwebs, it appears that Copycat Kamala is back to her copycatting, which is why we call her Copycat Kamala. Viva Frei, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, in my real home office, not my car now because it's a little dark and I gotta get this vlog out by the end of the day. To start this vlog, we need to go back to the beginning, a certain letter that Donald Trump posted from one Oprah Winfrey from the year 2000. January 11, 2000. Donald, I reviewed the book excerpt. I have to tell you, your comments made me a little weepy. It's one thing to say and live a life of integrity, still another to have people like yourself notice. Thank you, Oprah. Too bad we're not running for office. What a team. Now, what does a letter that Oprah Winfrey wrote to Donald Trump nearly 25 years ago have to do with anything? Well, you will recall that during the DNC, what I'm calling the Demonic National Convention, Oprah Winfrey came out there endorsing Kamala Harris and poo-pooing Donald Trump, saying all sorts of stupid, terrible lies about Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump took to Twitter, or Truth Social, then to Twitter, to bring up that letter that Oprah Winfrey wrote him 24 years ago.
When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady,
and in that letter, she said, too bad you're not running for office, Donald. We would have made such a team. Now, in fairness, that's nearly a quarter century ago, and things change in a quarter century. People are entitled to change their opinions in a quarter century. I still think Oprah Winfrey is an idiot, a bought-out, sold political hack. Set that aside. She changed her mind. That's not where this story is going. It is kind of a well-known secret that Kamala Harris is not exactly the most competent of politicians. She was not exactly the most competent of attorneys general, because you pluralize attorneys general at the attorneys and not the general. She's something of a DEI hire. There's nothing wrong or misogynist in saying it. Biden himself said it when he said, I'm going to pick a woman VP and I'm going to pick a black woman for the Supreme Court. Reducing people to their races or sexes, it's the definition of DEI hire, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's why he needed one of those specific demographics.
Let us turn now to CBS News political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Ed, former Vice President Biden has for 3 months said his running mate will be a woman. Now, with recent events, is Biden under more pressure now to choose a woman of color?
Well, Major, he continues to face tremendous pressure to pick a woman of color, but CBS News has learned that his team continues to vet or look into the backgrounds of several women. Senators Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, Kamala Harris, and Tammy Duckworth, a paraplegic Iraq War veteran. Governors Michelle Lujan Grisham of New Mexico and Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. Congresswoman Val Demings of Florida. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and former Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice. Despite the recent headlines, Biden continues to insist he's looking for someone he'd be comfortable working with and who he believes is qualified for the job, and we're expecting an announcement by August 1st.
It's a well-known secret Kamala Harris is an idiot who may have achieved political success through means other than her big brain, if you know what I mean, but she has no policy to run on, and she has literally not been running on any policy, to the point where even the mainstream media was saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead and need some policy from you, Kamala. And so what does Kamala Harris do when even the mainstream media is getting after her for not having any policy? Well, she just copies policy from Donald Trump, and I mean literally. Not Rachel Madcow literally, as in literally. You might recall recently Kamala Harris put out a policy of her campaign, no tax on tips, as if that wasn't something that Donald Trump said 2 months ago. It was trending on Twitter. People were posting receipts on Twitter. Write on your receipt. No tax on tips, vote for Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene put one out. A bunch of people put them out. 2 months later, Kamala Harris comes to her senses and says, yeah, in Nevada, maybe I should float that policy of no tax on tips and pretend it was mine, and then rely on the fake mainstream media to question whether or not it was actually her original idea. So not only was it not her original idea, it wasn't her idea in the first place, and her administration via Biden implemented the exact opposite policy to tax service workers more efficiently. Then I guess people were noticing the dearth, the absence of American flags in the crowd at the DNC. I remarked on it, and then 2 or 3 days later, they said, we're taking the American flag back. The Democrat Party, which has hitherto been allergic to the American flag, well, they're taking it back now because they feel the populist movement. Then the other day, Andrew Yang comes out and says, yeah, we should really put together a commission, an inquiry into childhood health, because there's a bit of a problem with childhood health in America, as if that's not exactly what the unity ticket between RFK Jr. and Donald Trump is all about. Andrew Yang now telling the Democrat Party to do what RFK offered them when he opened the door to calling Kamala Harris and she never returned his call. Now they're all of a sudden interested in the health of children when they see how successful that has been for the Trump campaign. And then get this kick in the teeth. You know what? It's beyond a kick in the teeth. It's a kick in the groin, then a kick in the ass, then a kick in the teeth. Now Kamala Harris has come around and said, yeah, we should really fund a border wall. I kid you not. She once called it un-American, racist, whatever other names you want to throw at the border wall. Now they're talking about funding a border wall, adopting each and every one of these policies directly from the Trump campaign. And then coming back full circle to that letter that Oprah Winfrey wrote Donald Trump some 24 years ago, which Trump used to rub in her face right now, her volte-face to her prior endorsement of Donald Trump, her wish to run for office with Donald Trump. It seems the Kamala Harris campaign has copied this out of the Trump playbook by publishing a letter that was allegedly written to her, allegedly by someone named Tucker, that allegedly complimented Kamala Harris on her gun control policy as VP in the Biden administration. And she shared that alleged letter earlier today by way of tweet, which reads as follows. Vice President Kamala Harris at VP. Tucker, thank you for writing to me. While we may not agree on every issue, we both know that every person in our nation should have the freedom to live safe from gun violence. The majority of Americans stand with us in support of common sense gun safety legislation. Now, I'm going to get back to this a little later, but when we hear the name Tucker, there are certain names that have achieved a certain notoriety. When you hear a one-word name, you think of none other than the person themselves. Tucker Carlson. Donald Trump. Kamala Harris. Kamala puts out a tweet where she says, thank you, Tucker. While we may not agree on every issue, which would seem to allude to some sort of prior interaction where they've actually had a discussion about the other issues about which they do not agree, then she puts the letter that she allegedly received from Tucker, and I'm going to read this to you, and I'm going to read it in Tucker Carlson's voice. I swear to you, I genuinely believe this is an AI-generated letter, the parameters of which were draft a letter in the tone of Tucker Carlson, in the tone of one of his opening monologues, as though a 12-year-old kid wrote it. Vice President Harris, one of my absolute favorite things in America is how people of different backgrounds and beliefs have the freedom to communicate with each other. We are so blessed to live in a country where the greater currency is the free-flowing exchange of ideas. In America, we are all blessed with the ability to come together on common ground. In the spirit of establishing common ground, even though I am fairly conservative and we may have our disagreements, I am writing to express my gratitude for yours and President Biden's efforts to establish common sense gun safety laws. Owning firearms is every American's constitutional right. Like all things, there needs to be reasonable regulations like age restrictions, background checks, and mental health screenings. Thank you for heading the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention and for yours and President Biden's push for common sense gun safety laws. I look forward to seeing what the Biden-Harris administration accomplishes in this regard. All the best and God bless. Tucker. Now, I will be the first to assess my own biases, my own reflexive reactions, my own connection of dots that others might not see, let alone connect. I read that letter, and I don't think there's any question that there is, at the very least, a certain ambiguity as to what Tucker that came from. A Tucker who is relatively conservative, a Tucker who started that letter with what sounds like the opening monologue of a Tucker Carlson. Maybe not everybody immediately associates Tucker with Tucker Carlson, but in that context, I think it's ambiguous enough that many people would, and reading the replies of her tweet, it's quite clear that many did. And why am I connecting these dots? Because Kamala Harris has not just a history, but a recent history as recent as Monday of this week of copying every aspect of the Trump campaign, and now it seems that she's even copying his trolls by ostensibly pretending or leading some people to believe or leading some people to confusion that she received a letter from Tucker Carlson that said that he somehow agreed with her common sense gun safety controls, even though he's fairly conservative and respects the Constitution. And one of his favorite things in America, I'm reading it in Tucker Carlson's voice because it was drafted in Tucker Carlson's style. And I had to take to Twitter to let the world know that Copycat Kamala is right back at it, even copying Trump's trolls. Viva Frei at the Viva Frei. I have some doubts that this letter is real. I imagine Tucker Carlson would have dated his letter. That being said, assume it is real. Add it to the list of Kamala copycat campaign tactics. Stolen Trump ideas / tactics, I now up to 5. What kind of typo is that? 1. No tax on tips. 2. Taking back the American flag. 3. Investigation into chronic diseases in children. 4. Building a border wall. And now 5. Copying the Oprah Winfrey letter. When your success in life has been achieved with your body, not mind, you must copy those around you with bigger minds. And then I followed it up with this tweet. Viva Frei at the Viva Frei, you do realize there are pictures of Tucker Carlson's signature on the internet, and none of them even remotely resemble this, right? And Tucker, like most meticulous and intelligent people, dates his letters. You didn't just lie to the American people again, did you? At VP. Edit. I appreciate she did not actually say Tucker Carlson wrote this letter, but the suggestion is obvious and apparent from the replies. It also comes in the wake of the Oprah Winfrey letter. This letter is drafted in the rhetorical style and tone of Tucker Carlson, and the tweet suggests some prior existing disagreement between her and, quote, Tucker, end quote, on other issues, which would be quite a weird thing to say if she was just referring to some random Tucker. Kamala's tweet, though not an outright lie, is a lie by omission. It's a lie by deception. She knows damn well what she's doing. You don't just put out a letter from Tucker a week after Trump puts out a letter from Oprah and then play all innocent. Well, I never said it was specifically from Tucker Carlson. You just made that assumption. I made that assumption because it's a reasonable assumption to make to connect the dots given the behavior, and even Tucker Carlson had to chime in on it, and my goodness, his response, mwah, epic and beautiful. Tucker Carlson at Tucker Carlson, letter from a fan. Dear Tucker, I can't believe I'm writing you this letter, but here goes. Honestly, I never thought we had all that much in common. Since college, I've considered myself moderately progressive in the sense that I don't believe in law enforcement, national borders, or the right of American citizens to exercise fundamental human autonomy. You seemed like you were coming from a totally different place. I thought I disagreed with you on everything. Boy, was I wrong. The other night, I was looking at the internet and saw your conversation with Bobby Kennedy Jr. There wasn't a word I disagreed with. Not one. I turned to Montel and I said, quote, I was very wrong about this man. So very wrong. The way he talks, he's so bold and wise and strong. He's immovable, like a towering oak tree in a windstorm. He sways gently but never breaks. His trunk is so broad and firm and rooted to the earth. I can't imagine the size of his root ball, end quote. I was so impressed. So thank you. You showed me something about myself and about the world. I will never forget it. Until we meet, OXOXO, Kamala. And every eye had that beautiful little heart on them, and he never said it was from Kamala Harris. No. There was no deliberate ambiguity to mislead people into thinking that somehow Tucker Carlson was second-guessing his Second Amendment support and the Constitution that he upholds more than anyone on the Democrat side. No. Tucker Carlson was just posting a letter from a fan. And by the way, if you haven't already done it, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification button so you get notifications whenever I put out a video. But bottom line, Kamala knew damn well what she was doing, copying the Trump campaign in substance and in strategy. Now we're at number 5, although I'm sure there's more. Can you believe that she actually said we need to build a border wall? You could script this in a movie and no one would believe it because they would say, this is not believable. This is too stupid to be true. But no, lo and behold, it's just Kamala. So with that said, if you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. If you want to get some merch, go to vivafrei.com. We have the bestest merch on earth. That's an exaggeration. It's just pretty darn good merch. If you want to support us at vivabarneslaw.locals.com, we have the most above average community there. That is not an exaggeration, but more important than anything, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!
I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?